Differentiated instruction. There are many forms of differentiated instruction. Today we are going to discuss an approach of differentiated instruction for those possibly with special needs or disabilities, and as a normal classroom would do differentiated instruction. There is curriculum and instruction that is adjusted to maximize the learning of all students. Teachers do this so that the students will be able to learn as well as all the rest of them, because this can affect your average learners, your English language learners, and your struggling students or students with disabilities, learning disabilities, and gifted and talented students. So the teachers they adjust their curriculum and everything so that it maximizes the learning of every student in the classroom. Teachers use a framework to implement the strategies, which is evidence-based. These evidence-based strategies are employing effective classroom management procedures, grouping students for instruction, especially students with significant learning problems, assessing readiness, and teaching to the student's zone or proximal development. The learning is shaped to fit the needs of the student. So therefore, when we go to how teachers differentiate, there's a variety of instructional approaches. Some teachers have very different approaches, but to figure out how to do this properly, the teachers need to figure out the student's readiness, the student's interest, and their learning profile. Their readiness refers to the student's knowledge and skill level given the content. They may want to vary, which these levels vary across the subjects or content areas. Their interest is what skills or topics or things they like to work with that they really like. And then there is also the learning profile, where they do testing to see where the student is at in the learning profile. They're going to use assessment results to help to group students together to see how they can work together, as well as they can alter assignments. And altering assignments means they can cut back the number of problems that students will do, so they are still able to grasp the concept as well as get the practice that is necessary to continue on to the next concept. Meaningful and engaging lessons. This means that the teachers have lessons that will inspire the student, that the student wants to take part in and engage in and be involved with. Because if they don't like the information, then they're not going to try and they're not going to make an effort to learn the lesson. And there's also different grouping formats. Sometimes you can group students together that are lacking in a certain area so that you can work with them all on that certain area. Or you can group students together. They call it the heterogeneous grouping, where you have students that are stronger in different areas all put together, and so they are able to help those students that are lacking in a certain area pick up the area where they are lacking, and if there's somebody else lacking in an area, that student can help this person gain where they are lacking. The way that the differentiated classroom is set up is the teacher uses the best use of floor space, where they are able to have a group, say, over here, and a group here, and then another group here, so that they don't have to continually be moving chairs and everything. The chairs and the desks in the classroom are set up so that they are able to continue learning and to achieve all the goals that are necessary in the time frame that they need to. The bulletin boards and the wall space are used for rules and seating charts. This shows the students where different things will be, like different groups are at, and it shows the rules of the classroom. And then the materials are stored in a way that it is not going to disrupt the others in the class if we have to go change and get a different bucket or a material or group of activities, we won't disrupt the rest of the classroom to go get those activities. Content is things which need mastered. So content for these students are there's tiered content, providing a variety of materials, presentation styles, scaffolding, learning contracts, and comparing. These are how teachers figure out the different content areas which need to be taken care of throughout the learning process. And teachers differentiate content. They use the same content or skill taught to the other students, but the curriculum used to teach the concept or skill may be different for different students. So they are able to change these different things like the tiered content, the providing a variety of materials. The differentiated teacher changes those up so that the student is still able to get the content that is needed. And then we have the process, activities used to master the content. So if a teacher differentiates process, they teach the same concept or skill, but in the manner in which they teach it to the student makes more sense to the student than if a normal class were to teach it. They were to be in a group of everybody else. So they have a variety of different activities that the students can use to master the skill or the concept. They can decide how to do this by taking into account the student's readiness level and their interest in their learning. And then we have the product, the method used to demonstrate the learning. So we make the product assignment challenging, but not too difficult or complex that the students are unable to compare it on their own. So we provide clear instructions, and we create a task that reflects a real-world application so that they're able to know that this is how this will happen in the real world. So so that we know that they have mastered and they know what they're doing. They have learned the proper way to take care of the content that they have been assigned. And when we compare a differentiated classroom to a regular classroom, in a regular classroom, some teachers will lecture the entire class. And some students, they just don't get everything that is said during a lecture, because sometimes the lecture goes fast enough that a student can't catch all the information, can't write notes down for all of the information. And sometimes they do better if they are to see it versus hear it. And if you're going to lecture a whole classroom, then there's nothing for them to see. So it all depends on the student's learning style as to whether a lecture class is good or not. But with a differentiated class, the students are able to learn at their pace and their learning style. And some teachers also group them by last year's test scores. Well, they may have changed over the summer or into this year, and they may have gained more knowledge or they may have lost knowledge. So grouping them by last year's test scores is not a good thing. You have to test them as they go along to find out what areas need to be taken care of, and not just necessarily taken care of, but what areas need to be worked on as well. What areas we need to focus on and everything. And then there is extra credit for class participation. Well, some students with learning disabilities and other things of the sort, learning disabilities or just a disability in general, do not want to be the center of attention, and so they won't participate in the class. They're too shy, or they just don't know the proper answer or don't know how to say it the proper way. So that would allow them to lose out on extra credit, where other students are gaining the extra credit because they know the answer. They're more willing to participate in the class than some of the other students. So that is why we need differentiated learning. And this allows a student to learn at their pace in a classroom that is detailed to their needs.